This massive mudslide has caught this beautiful pine forest off guard, knocking down trees in a matter of seconds. The peak of this mountain is experiencing significant rockfall. For now, the bridge is narrowly spared. Suddenly, a medium-sized boulder smashes into the bridge at high speed, completely obliterating it. These tornado chasers are directly facing a ferocious twister. From a distance, its might is evident, pulling in fragile objects hundreds of meters away. It's the only one facing such consequences. The crushing force of this hurricane effortlessly lifts the roof off this house. The hurricane seems intent on claiming any lightweight element, magnifying its power. The high-speed typhoon strips the masonry from this building as if it were made of a deck of cards. It seems like a design flaw by the engineers and architects. After all, this camera captures the onset of a typhoon. The building's facade windows crumble effortlessly. And it's not just trailers. These floods have uprooted homes from their foundations, turning them into floating houses. When a trailer home crosses the path of a raging river swollen by rainfall, there's no doubt it'll be swept away. When you challenge Mother Nature, she'll remind you that it's best to heed her rules. Just look at this car's driver, who's swiftly pushed back by the current. The steep gradient makes landslides more likely. This factor, coupled with loose soil, is the perfect recipe for the terrain to start giving way, leading to the collapse of this main road. It seems this small area has been ravaged by a hurricane. Deep floods have heavily impacted the houses. To add insult to injury, massive waves come in to finish off what was already precariously standing. After the water levels recede from historical floods in this area, remnants of the destruction begin to emerge. These adobe brick walls have shifted due to the overwhelming force of the water. The stairs, the primary access to the upper levels, are left hanging in the air. Suddenly, the water level starts to rise, as evident by the window level of this house. The gradual weakening of its foundation from water infiltration, combined with the new surge, causes the structure to give in after a few seconds, being wholly swallowed by the waters. This house will go down in history. The captured footage is unparalleled. Watching it get completely consumed is nothing short of shocking. It's clear that water is an element demanding utmost respect. In the wake of the typhoon, this community is submerged in floods over a meter deep. This machinery was dredging the river, but an unexpected downpour puts it on the edge of a precipice. It's only a matter of seconds before the water erodes the machinery's base, dragging it into the river. In mere moments, both the machinery's work and its structure are claimed by the untamed river. After a few hours of rainfall, the soil's moisture levels have risen, causing it to become saturated. This results in a loss of structural integrity and the top layer starting to slide. After hours of continuous rain and drainage system failure, the streets are flooded. Cars lie wherever the waters have taken them. These bikes begin to feel the wrath of the fierce hurricane. Everything in the street gets caught up in the wind's speed. As if that wasn't enough, a massive wave crashes onto the shore, disrupting the relative stillness of the streets. The brook displays a sense of tranquility. Suddenly, upstream, a torrent can be seen approaching. Indeed, this marks the beginning of a tragedy for this community. The heavy rainfall of recent days has swollen the river's flow. These onlookers have encroached on Mother Nature's territory, and she retaliates by raising her waters. Of the 3 people initially seen in the area, none remain by the end. Such is the might of nature. This lovely couple, along with their dog, decided to return late from the pier. Unexpectedly, a surge in the tide catches up to them. They narrowly avoid being swept away by the waves. The waves approach the barrier meant to contain them at a relatively slow pace, but the sheer volume of water being pulled by the ocean is enough to wreak havoc on a small pier like this. The ease with which it breaches every human-made barrier demonstrates that when Mother Nature decides to reclaim her territory, she'll do so regardless of the defenses mankind puts up.
ほんと、割れてたぞ。間に合うね。危ね。マジすごい。いない。津波でもううちの下のイルカハウスとかもすごいからさ。嘘。ちょっとかけ直すわ。じゃあね。うわー。1回目よりするんですか。
It all begins with a minor break in an ice wall. Who would have guessed that this was the foundation of the ice barrier, which ends up triggering a mass reaction on this massive frozen cliff? The subsequent events on the frozen waters are striking. The melting of the polar caps is one of the primary causes of global warming, and this is evidence of it. The waiter's force has confronted a convoy of vehicles, compressing them into tight spaces and obliterating them completely. Those not caught in this traffic jam are swept downstream, resulting in a total loss. A powerful typhoon descends on the streets of this small town, leaving the homes vulnerable, subjected to its overwhelming force. The hill has absorbed a massive amount of water, which it has channeled downhill in an avalanche toward lower regions. Unexpectedly, the wind strikes this intersection and causes the cables to touch, triggering a short circuit and cutting off the power supply to that line. The river's power and persistence have gradually eroded the foundations of this house. Once it exceeds its bearing capacity, it gives way and collapses. A strong blizzard ruthlessly targets these trees. The inhabitants endure moments of distress and anxiety. Suddenly, the typhoon dissipates just as quickly. The sheer force with which this hurricane assaults the trees leaves them on the brink of destruction. A storm is captured up close. A hurricane introduces a disruptive force to this small region, causing abrupt changes in wind speeds and rising river levels. Waters have risen beyond their natural boundaries, and their unbridled force has caused the collapse of homes. They threaten to destroy everything in their path and cut off access to major roads. These people are eagerly awaiting the inauguration of a dam. But, unbeknownst to them, the dam has surpassed its maximum limits. Several onlookers who parked their cars on the bridge are caught off guard by the dam's flooding. Fortunately, everyone manages to escape unharmed, with no significant property damage. The ceremony has certainly left the attendees with a shock to remember.
أنا مصور فيديو. دعموها. راعي الجيب هاي راعي الجيب لا ما خلاص لا شيء خطر عاشر عمي ترى يضوف
When coastal waters flood nearby roads, boats and cars share the same pathways. The arrival of this typhoon in this vulnerable neighborhood has wreaked havoc. The roofs of most of these homes are instantly torn off with a slight increase in wind speed. This illustrates the importance of bridges' structural design and the need for air cables designed based on maximum surges. The water finds no barrier to defend the road, so its mission appears clear: to tear apart the pavement. Minutes later, what was once a roadway is reclaimed by the river, expanding its width. Ice balls the size of a softball hit at high speeds. It's a spectacle best witnessed from indoors, under a roof. The force of the water has eroded the bridge's abutment, causing its collapse. With the deck having no base to support itself, it folds like a piece of cloth. This truss bridge has collapsed after several days of rain. The result, cities cut off from each other. A typhoon hits the coasts. This beautiful party hall loses everything when its chairs are lifted by the wind's force. In the distance, affected boats can be seen. Hurricanes first make landfall on the coast. Thus, coastal regions are the first to bear the brunt and are most affected by these phenomena. This man captures the peak devastation moment of the typhoon. Winds exceeding 220 kilometers per hour wreak havoc on power lines and nearby structures. Floods at this food fair have affected the furniture and setups. The water has reached heights of over a meter, and it seems the only safe spot is atop the tables. Hurricane-strength winds, heavy rainfall. The result? Streets flooded, turning into fast-flowing rivers, threatening to sweep away everything in their path. The water has eroded a large section of the road where many homes were located, which have collapsed due to the undermining of their foundations. The edge failure observed on the terrain indicates that this portion of the land will soon slide away. The water descending into the valley has infiltrated the ground, saturating it. In a matter of seconds, it begins to crumble slowly. Then, suddenly, the area marked by the fault is consumed by the water's force. These men have chosen to challenge the river's power. They dared to cross the river in their Toyota trucks and were caught off guard halfway through, getting stuck. After a rescue maneuver by the lead vehicle, they attempt to save the one lagging behind. And indeed, the rescue is a success. They probably won't be eager to defy Mother Nature again anytime soon.